Hey, it's Drybear. Today I'm going to get you started in the First Descendant. I have people asking me that they want to get into First Descendant, but it's a little bit much at first. There's a lot of questions they have on which character should I pick, how do I play, what am I looking at, how do I grind, so we're going to answer all of that today. Well, let's start with a basic game overview. The First Descendant is a free-to-play looter shooter. It is probably closely compared to games like Warframe. Your goal is to collect characters, weapons, make your own builds, go out and complete PvE missions, and fight against PvE encounters to get stronger over time and collect loot. It is a character-based game, and you will be collecting what are called Descendants, and these have their own abilities. Now, there's going to be multiple systems coming together to create your playstyle and your gameplay experience, and the Descendants is only part of that equation. Each Descendant will come with a passive ability, and then they have 4 active skills as well that all do different things and can be modified in different ways. So you have to be selecting on a Descendant. Once you have that Descendant selected, when you start moving around, you will be that Descendant and have their abilities. Next, you'll have 3 weapon slots that you can put whatever weapons you want into them and create your style from that way. They all use different ammo types as well, and you'll be collecting ammo from the enemies that you defeat. And there's also components and modules that we'll get into in a minute on how to customize your character and specify how you're going to play. Now, it's important to note that every single gameplay element in the game of the First Descendant is accessible to free-to-play players. All you're doing is buying progression. So you have the option, if you'd like to buy through these characters and unlock them. At first, you only have the 1 character unlocked that you pick at the very beginning when you make your account, and then you'll have to go through and unlock these yourselves. But you can buy them through the shop by spending currency and unlocking it there, but you don't actually have to. There is one thing that is worth considering, though, if you are someone who is a free-to-play player, is you will have to buy Descendant slots. By base, you have a maximum of 10 Descendant slots that you can have locked in here, and then you can purchase more for 50 calibers every time you want to increase a new slot, and that they'll continue adding new Descendants. There's one coming in a month, as well as a new ultimate version of that Descendant, and then more coming every single quarter as well. Another question that gets asked a lot is, what is the difference between a normal Descendant and their ultimate form, as they have the same abilities? So there's normal Ajax, and then there's ultimate Ajax. The simplest way I can put this is very similar to Warframe, is that if you own both normal Ajax and ultimate Ajax, there's no reason for you to use normal Ajax. The ultimate versions are simply just upgraded versions of that character. In general, they just have better stats. Sometimes they have small modifications to their abilities, though that's not the norm. And in general, they also have access to further progression that might come with more advancement on their character at base, which will give you more of a jump start on that character as well. So they are by default better than the characters, but it doesn't mean that, you know, if you were going into a party that has a maxed out Valby, that Valby can't run with a group full of ultimates because the ultimates are that much better. It just means that the ultimate versions are better than their normal components, their normal variations that exist in the game. And if you're interested, on the channel, I have a video going through all of the most valuable items in the game if you are interested in spending money, but also you don't have to, and you can kind of think about how you're going to progress through the game itself and how you're going to interact with the battle pass as well. Next, let's go through a very fast, simplified version of the progression that you're going to go through in this game, just so you have a basic idea in your head. You will start your character and you'll have a main campaign that you need to finish. You can check the progress of this by the purple quest that you have in your journal. So if you still have a purple quest in your journal, that means that you are progressing through the main story. If you press your map and go to the world map, you have all these zones to unlock, and the progression will go like this. You will start in one of these zones. You'll need to complete all the quests in that zone by unlocking all of the areas, getting all the waypoints, and at the very end of the zone, there will be a dungeon or a special mission that you'll be able to complete, which is a dungeon. Once you do that, you will unlock a Colossus mission, which is a Void Intercept battle for that. So you'll unlock Gravewalker pretty early on in the story. What Intercept battles are, Void Intercepts, they are just a giant boss fight with 4 people in it. They have specific mechanics that you'll have to overcome. Each of these bosses have different little niche mechanics that you'll have to do correctly, or they'll do specific damage, and they'll have different breakable parts as well. When you're facing off against a Void Intercept boss, you can press tab on PC, and this will activate your SCEV, your ECEV. When you do that, it'll activate a scanner that looks like this. It will scan the area, and when the boss is landed down on the ground and you scan, it will reveal all of the weak points glowing in blue. So you see how her legs are glowing in blue, her shoulders are glowing in blue. That shows you all their destructible parts. It's kind of like Monster Hunter Hunter, and you can work it that way. For some of these as well, let's damage one of these blue parts. If we damage it enough, you see how it turns yellow? That means that it is now mountable. So now I can jump on top of this boss, and once I get unfrozen here, and I can mount on top of her. And then you can start doing melee damage to it. They'll try to buck you off just like Monster Hunter. On PC, just hold right click, and that will prevent your stamina from depleting. And then when they're done, you can keep bashing it to cause that part to break and fall off. And some bosses have like phases they'll go through where you have to break a certain part, or you have to do a certain mechanic, and each boss fight is different. Each raid encounter is different. So for example, with Dead Bride here, you'll see that there, like, she's immune except for specific spots on her weapon. We have to destroy these little spots on her weapon in order to get her into the next phase. When defeating certain encounters like the Void Reactors or the Intercept bosses, you'll drop a treasure chest, which is this reconstructed device. You'll have to collect specific material called amorphous material that you use to go to this target and then open it, and that will have a chance of dropping certain things that you need for your character. So you're collecting these amorphous materials and then going to the location that opens them in order to get loot from them. So your initial progression is to finish the zone, get to the end, finish the dungeon at the end, unlock the encounter for the Void Intercept, defeat that boss, and then it'll unlock the new zone, and then you'll keep going through that process until all the zones are complete. Now keep in mind that much of what you're looking for in the game is going to exist in different dungeons, locations, Void Reactors, Void Intercept battles all over the world. And my recommendation is that you just go and unlock all of the zones as quickly as you can by just using whatever weapons you have available, and then you can go and start select farming the things that you're looking for. Then once you're doing that, then once you've maxed out and you're getting into hard mode, that's when you start unlocking level 100 eye level items, and then you can start modifying that gear to make it even better. But getting it to eye level 100 is going to be the first step. So let's look about how you go about modifying that. On the right side of the screen in your inventory, you can see you have a reactor. Then you have 4 external components. All of these will have a skill power modifier on them. They will increase all of your skill damage, and damage will scale up with that. And each one of these will have different stats and modifiers on them as well. As you get better and better versions of these, they will have passive effects. You can see down at the bottom. This one reduces skill cost and skill effect, increases skill effect range. This one will increase skill critical hit rate 31%. It gives you bonus on a specific type of ability. It gives you bonus attacks. You're looking for high-level versions of these that you can slot into your reactor slot. Then you have your 4 components. You're going to have your auxiliary power, your sensor, your memory, and your processor. All 4 of these you will be collecting and slotting, and some of them, by the way, will have 2 and 4 set bonus effects that will affect your character as well. Then you can further enhance your character and your playstyle by adding modules. Weapons, by going to the module thing here on the left side of the screen, allow you to add in modules that will increase the attack power, or change the ammo type, or collect more ammo from a different ammo type, or add in recoil or reduced recoil, or you can get weak point damage when you're hitting one of those weak spots on a bosses. You can get additional reload time. You can get all kinds of modifiers that work great for your specific weapon or for your specific build. And each of the weapons is going to have their own set of modifiers and modules that you'll use to make that weapon better. Now you also see that there is a module capacity here. This is true for anything that can have modules on it. So these all cost a certain amount, and the more you make the module, like you level the module up, the more it'll cost to equip on average to that item or to that character. And so your end game goal is to raise your module capacity so you can have better and better modules on that. You can also put modules on your character as well. So you can see they have modules on your character that you can level up, and there's like different rarities. The red rarity, the Transcendent rarity, are the ones that specify a specific play style. They're for specific Descendants that can modify how they work, give them some kind of new effect on their abilities, and you can also slot in different ones here. Now, for your weapons and for your Descendant, the way you increase the capacity is by doing a max capacity up using energy activators. You're going to be farming these and increasing the level and using the farm up process to make your weapons better, to make your Descendants better, to increase your module capacity, to give you even more power. And that's how you progress through the end game hard difficult activities, is by increasing your capacity and then simultaneously increasing the effect of your modules and your bonuses. And it's worth noting that you're going to be upgrading your weapons individually as well, and it might be worth just picking a specific weapon that you like and then leveling it up. You see that I have proficiency level 40 on the Thunder Cage. This is the first ultimate that you get as part of the tutorial, so I just kept with it. The proficiency will give you some really nice bonuses for that weapon, and you'll notice the difference between using a weapon that has level 1 proficiency versus level 40, and all you have to do is run with the weapon in your loadout to get proficiency on it, though I do think it increases much faster if you're using it in your hand, but it still does get a portion of that as long as it's in your loadout. There's also a bunch of things to be aware of inside the main hub of Albion as well. You'll have a mailbox that you'll use for lost and found items or any giveaways you have, and you have queue systems for being able to do dungeons and different queues like that, or doing the void bosses, but primarily the things you're going to want to know about the most are going to be over here on the west side of Albion. So this is where you come in, this is where you spawn in Albion, head over to the far west side, and this is where all your major vendors are going to be. The first one to talk about is going to be Anna East here at Research. When you talk to her, this is where you craft everything in the game. You can craft Descendants, you can craft weapons, you can craft all of the consumables that you need. This is how you unlock characters and how you go through the process of expanding your account or unlocking new things for you. From Anna East, if you turn around and go up the stairs up here, you have all of your weapon modifiers here. You have a shop that allows you to buy and sell, which doesn't really stay useful or relevant that long, but then you want to come over here to this station, which is going to be your workbench. When you have a weapon, you can very easily take a weapon that's level 1 and transfer a level over to it, right? So if I had this, I could take this level 100 weapon and move it over to this, which would make this weapon level 100 and consume that weapon in the process. So if you just crafted a brand new ultimate weapon that's level 1 or level 2 and you think it's really bad, just have a level 100 purple weapon on hand that you can use to level it up to level 100. Then you can change the stats on the weapon by going to weapon readjustment. You can click on this and randomly reallocate the stats that it got until it got some really good stats on it. That's how you make the weapons better from there as well. And you can also use duplicates of ultimate weapons to increase their passive ability. If you look at these weapons that I have here, you see the Thunder Cage and Sigvor's Proof have one little hash mark there at the bottom. That means that I've taken a duplicate of that weapon and combined it together, which increases the passive effect of these ultimate weapons to make them even stronger. So you'll be crafting the ultimate weapons or looting them, then using duplicates to make them stronger, enhance them, and reroll the stats to make that specific weapon better. From the weapons modifier bench, you can come over here to the training room. So if you want to test out specific builds or combinations, if it says that you do more to a type of faction or more type of elemental damage, you can jump in the training room and test that out. Then left from the training room is going to be your module essential. So you come into this area here, you talk to this guy, and this is where you enhance modules, this is where you combine modules and dismantle modules. Primarily what you're going to be doing is enhancing them. This is how you increase the value of this. So this starts at like 10% defense, you can max it out and get some extra bonus there. You see these resistance ones that you can increase, and you can increase the weapon modules this way as well. It'll require the currency that you collect throughout the game in order to make these stronger. Next, let's talk about how you're going to figure out what you're going to farm. This is a big thing for a lot of people. I see plenty of people that go about farming the wrong thing, or they don't know where to go. So when you're in game on PC or whatever it is on console, you can press G to bring up your world map. And from here, you can go over to one of the best tabs in the game, which is going to be the Access Info tab. This is your codex, this is where everything goes. And from here, you can not only see where things come from if you really want to find out, like say you want to farm a specific descendant, you have your eyes on Blair, you can click on Blair and see that this is the 4 items you need in order to craft Blair at Anna East at the Research Development Center. So you can actually just hover over one of these items, press F on PC to view where it comes from, and we see that it comes from in the White Knight Gulch zone on normal, do Mystery's End, and that will drop this item for you. And you can also, when you're hovering over it, set tracking to on, and when it goes on, it'll go down to the bottom here on your target item. And which means that when you're inside of normal gameplay on PC, you can press U, it'll swap the left side of the screen over there, and you can track, it's like it's a to-do list. Like, these are the things I'm trying to farm, this is what I'm trying to get, and once you get it, it'll mark it off for you, you know you got the drop, and you're good to go. Access Info is a great tab to have, but on top of that, some things, like for example, the characters like Bunny, Freyna, and Blair and Sharon are all straightforward because their drops are singular drops. But for more of the more complicated descendants in the game, especially the ultimates, you'll see that they're not just a single drop. You actually need to collect all the individual pieces here and then take all of these pieces to the research area and research this item and then do all 4 of them in order to get this character. So it's a much more involved process. So not only will you need to figure out where all of these things come from, so you'll see these are a little more complicated, but you also have to pull from them as well. Keep in mind that there are some items in the game that drop wholesale. They just come off the ground in certain areas or certain zones. You'll find them. You'll just have to go find where they drop from. However, some of the more rare materials come out of what are called amorphous materials, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. If we go into our inventory and go over to consumable, you'll see there's a tab on the left side called amorphous material, and you can think of these as boxes of loot. They're basically boxes of loot. However, in order to get the loot that's inside, they have a drop % chance when you open the amorphous material. You need to go do a specific activity that allows you to open that amorphous material, which on PC, if you go to your amorphous material container, you can go over here and press L, and it'll swap over to what drop or what activity you need to do in order to open this amorphous material. So for amorphous material pattern 23, I have to go kill Dead Bride Common, the regular Dead Bride normal mode, in order to open this amorphous material. Now those are going to be for the bosses, the Void Intercepts, but there's also ones called, for these amorphous material patterns, these are opened by Void Reactors. So if you go to your map and you go to a specific zone, you'll notice that inside of that zone, there are these extra, like these are missions here and outposts, but there's also these red and yellow markers. So there's Void Fragments and there's Void Fusion Reactors. The fusion reactors require you to have a certain material to open them. So the like monomer void shard, polymer void shard, you need that to activate it. And then once it's done, it'll drop a chest that you can use to open an amorphous material. And they also have Void Fragments, which are just going to be these things that sit out in the world that you need to do as an encounter. Void Fragments look like this. You'll see them in the world, and this is how you farm some of those amorphous materials, but also some of the materials that you need in order to open a Void Reactor. By the way, all of these things, like everything that we're talking about here, I know it's a lot of proper nouns, it can be quite confusing, but it's just a bunch of different activities that drop different things that you'll need to complete. And Void Fragments are just one of them. On the Void Fragment on the map, you see how in the very middle there it says non-attribute. All of these have a specific element to them, and that tells you how to interact with it. So this one's non-attribute, this one is chill, this one over here, this Void Fragment is fire. All you have to do to activate a Void Fragment is be the correct element. So this is a non-attribute and I'm playing Ajax, which is non-attribute. Hit it with a skill that does that element. It'll trigger an encounter. You'll start getting swarmed by mobs. You'll have to do it a couple times and hit it again with an ability. And then when you're done, you'll get the Void Fragment materials that you need. But again, if you're ever confused, you can just go to Access Info, look through all of these materials that you're looking for and find out exactly where they drop and mark them for tracking. And if you ever want to, you can open your inventory, go to Descendant, bring up the Descendant list and click on whatever Descendant you want and read about their abilities and their functions and all of their elements. By the way, since this is a beginner's guide, I'm just going to give you a quick few tips on which of these are super useful. Since there are the 5 elements, there's fire, non-attribute, chill, toxic, and electric. Having one of each means you can open any Void Fragment in the game, which is useful. And on top of that, you can also get some special bonuses from some of these Descendants. So Sharon is able to stealth through outposts to get some bonus rewards from that. You can also run Enzo, and Enzo can solve the vault puzzles a lot more cleanly than anyone else in the game. And Bunny is a speed farmer. She's very good at farming, so having her, you'll get her free as part of the story. It's an easy character to pick up and use to farm very quickly. And the last thing I'll leave you with is going to be the vaults in the game. You will find materials that say they come out of vaults or encrypted vaults. This is a RNG resource that you'll need to scour the maps to complete, and they require a specific resource in order to unlock them. If you go to your consumable tab in your inventory, you will find code breakers or code analyzers. These allow you to open vaults in specific zones based on the difficulty. If you hover over them, they'll tell you what difficulty they're for. And to find vaults, you can go to any zone, and by using your receive, by pressing tab on PC, you'll get a feedback meter on something where there's a vault nearby. So if I do this in a couple directions, listen to the sound that my Yasiv makes. You see how it makes it like a badoop sound? That means that there's a vault nearby, but it's not in the direction I'm looking. And it is slight, think of it kind of like you're projecting out a giant wedge in front of you. It is directional in some cases. It's not so sensitive that you have to be looking directly at the vault, but it is directional. So you see how that beeps now? So over here, it does a badoop, and then over here, it goes a wing. That like high-pitched version tells you you're looking in the direction of a vault. So all you have to do is follow those beeps and follow it all the way until you find the vault. And once you do, you will find the vault itself. So see how it's beeping here like that? If I look away, it does a badoop, and here's the badink. So that is the sound that you know that you're looking directly at a vault, and they look like this. When you start the vault, it will be a mini game with a skill check. It's just a circle going around. It's kind of like DBD skill checks. You'll have to start that to start it. It will consume the item that you have with you. It'll tell you which button you need to press, and you need to complete the mini game to get the loot out of it. If you fail the mini game, let's see if I can actually do this live here. Left click, right click, left click. When you finish this, you will get the loot out of the vault and get the value out of it. If you fail by either running out of time or too many failed inputs, you will lose your code analyzer or code breaker, and you'll have to go find a new vault at a different time. You see how this no longer beeps? There's no vault nearby. This is another farming method in here that you'll find for some characters, some weapons, some things that you want to research, and you'll have to be aware that vaults do exist. But as of this morning, they changed it so that you can actually do the open area missions and the intercept missions. It says that increase the quantity of rare material drops from Encrypted Vault 3-fold, and the elite Vulgas that appear in field missions and infiltration operations will now drop as well. So you can get some of the vault materials from the elite and the outside missions, which helps a lot, and you can also still track down the vaults to get those too. But the video is already too long as it is, so I'm going to stop it there. Hopefully this helps you get started in the First Descendant. Once you get used to all the proper nouns and the systems, it's just a grinding game and it's super fun, so hopefully you enjoy. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.